Yo, what's good, boys? Today, I will be teaching you how to optimize your nutrition for maximal muscle growth, as seen in the title above. Now, to get started, we'll have to go over some main points. Today, we'll be talking about calories, bulking, cutting, talking about macros if you should track them, micros if they're really necessary, and hydration. So, to get started, what is a calorie? Now, it's not really important to know like it's kilojoules per blank blank blank. A calorie is just a measure of energy, straight like that. Now, why are calories important? So obviously, when you are functioning, you just to if your liver's functioning properly, which I assume it is, you're gonna use calories for that. If you're blinking, you're using energy to blink. If you're flexing your arm, you're using energy to flex your arm. That's why calories are important. You need to know how much you're burning per day and your activity coupled with your activity level to determine if you're, example, bulking or cutting. Now, to start, I'm gonna put a calculator in the description for how to determine maintenance calories. So just go off this website. It's from NASM. So this website, you'll have to put in your if you're male or female, your weight, your height, and your age. So personally, male, obviously, 178 pounds, 6'2" in height, and I'm 17 years old. So what will it show me? So after putting in your activity level, for me, it was very active. I lift 3 times a week for bodybuilding. I run a lot and I play a lot of basketball. So there's that. My activity level is quite high. So what did it tell me? So it gave me this number called BMR, or basal metabolic rate. Now, according to the website, it says this is your body's daily caloric requirement to function without physical activity. Personally, I do not find this number very necessary. You don't need to really know that. But mine personally was 1900 calories. The second number that it'll give you is a more important number, and what this number is total daily energy expenditure, otherwise known as TDEE, which is a estimation of calories you burn based on activity level. So mine was 3800 or 3200, sorry. Now, what does this tell me? This tells me it informs me first on the decision of whether I should go into bulking, cutting, or maintenance, or like if depending on my goals, what I want to do. So if I wanted to bulk, right, I need to be, for example, you don't want to be into like 1,000 calorie surplus. Otherwise, you're just putting on a lot of fat, right? So you want to do a lean bulk, but to be in a lean bulk, you need to have a idea of where you're at in calories. So obviously, in my case, I am at 3,200, and in a lean bulk, you usually are in a surplus of about 300 to 500 calories. You can go more and or less. So in my case, I'd be around like 3,500 calories to do this lean bulk. Now, in the case of cutting, what does it inform for cutting? The same thing applies for cutting. You don't want to be in too high of a deficit or too low of a deficit, unless you're maintaining. But alas, it'll inform you of where you're at in cutting. It's very straightforward. Same thing. You want to be in about a 300 calorie to 500 calorie deficit. You don't want to be going too fast, otherwise you'll lose muscle and strength at the same time, from what I've seen. Which is, the problem is with this is it'll be very minimal if you're a novice. The strength and muscle gains. I still wouldn't recommend going too fast with your cuts or your bulks especially, because if you're putting on a lot of fat, it's kind of deceiving, and you don't want to be fat, unless you're really skinny. But still, lean bulks are gonna be appropriate. You're gonna put on mostly muscle and a little bit of fat, which is all right. So, do you need to track your calories? It's question really. It depends on where you're at, right? So, if you're a novice, you do not really need to have the most optimal nutrition to gain muscle. It's very simple. You need to eat enough food, get enough protein, and that's pretty much it. Now, this does depend on who you are. If you are a really skinny kid and you just fail to put on any weight, I definitely recommend tracking your calories, because it's most likely that you think you're eating a lot, but you're not. You probably are in a deficit. So I recommend tracking your calories, and if you're in that case, if you're someone who is overweight, there's not really any point. As long as you're eating enough food, you're not like starving yourself. You should be fine. You're getting enough protein, you're fine. Now, moving on to macros. So again, macros, what are they? There are three different macros. There's protein, there's carbs, and there's fats. Now, the only thing that I'd recommend tracking, and you don't even need to track it, you just need to have a vague idea, is protein. Now, how much protein do you need? About 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And a lot of people are usually getting their protein in. It's not really a major deal unless you're failing to see muscle gain in the gym. And I will make a future video about measures to see how much muscle you're gaining and like accurate measures. Obviously, you can't see 100%, but like I can give you a decent measure. So, should you track your macros? Now, again, it depends, similar to calories, where you're at. If you're struggling to put on any size, I definitely recommend trying to like get a rough idea. But if you're constantly putting everything on a food scale, you're gonna drive yourself crazy. And honestly, again, as a novice, it's not very necessary. I'm not personally at the intermediate stage, so I can't speak on it, but I do think it could be helpful in the intermediate stage. But if you're a novice, it's not super necessary. I would say have a vague idea of protein, and obviously eat whole foods. Do not eat processed foods, or at least minimize as much as you can. Now, moving on to micros. Now, what are micros? They're your vitamins, your minerals, etc. So, again, this isn't really something you need to, at this point, it's like probably one of the minimal priorities. You want, like, the main things are you're getting your protein, your carbs, and your fats in. For micros, I'd say as long as you're eating a healthy diet of whole foods, you shouldn't have a problem with this. You should be getting whatever you need in. Finally, hydration. Get your damn water in. I try to get at least 4 of these per day, which it's a deceiving like container. It's quite big. You want to get at least 3 glasses of water per day to start, at least, because hydration is key. Like, if you're not like hydrated, you're gonna impact your performance in the gym, and it's just a spiral downward. So remember to be hydrated. Now, just a quick recap of what I went over. I went over calories. I went over should you track them. There's a calorie calculator in the description if you want to figure this out for yourself. Bulk and cutting in minimal detail. Macros, should you track them? Micros, and hydration. That's all for this video. Like the video if you found it helpful. Comment if you have any questions. Subscribe if you want to follow a YouTuber that's primarily focused on self-improvement and getting some muscle. Now, remember, guys, discipline is the root of success. Thank you for watching.